Namato Ratana Tayasa. May I pay homage to Triple Zem, the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha. My respect goes to my parents and my teachers. Hello, good evening. Today is Monday the 6th, June 2020. This is Ajahn Sujan from Varapunya Meditation Center, Aberdeen, Scotland. As usual, I am here with you all this evening. Hello Colin, hello Margaret, hello Neil. Hello Colin, I hope that you are keeping well after depart from the hospital. So my prayers are with you and also your sister. Get well soon, and if you need any help, just let me know. Hello Margaret, thank you very much Margaret for your wonderful feedbacks, and it's very glad to know that you've been practicing ever since you have practiced this walking meditation. So yesterday's walking meditation was another a reinforcement for you to remind and also how to do practice. It's very glad to know that you are regularly practicing at your back garden. So as I again and again repeat, that practice makes perfect. So it's really good to hear that you have been practicing. Meanwhile, there are some other feedbacks came as well, that some of those who have given the name and address for the face mask, and they have received it, and thank you very much for feedbacks and replying that you have got it. So quite good that you have replied it. So and there was also a couple of messages came to me saying that within this 2 months of time of this lockdown, and during this time finding difficult, and with these talks and practice of a meditation had helped in a way to distill and understand a little bit more, and particularly practice has given quite a good feedback and also help to deal in day-to-day life. So, and some of you again were listening from other parts of the world, recorded one and following all those talks, and when I read your feedbacks, that really makes me feel happy and encourages me to continue giving evening talks and a guided meditation. And after lockdown ends, I'm not sure whether I will be continuing or not, and based on how people feel it, and whether it is needed or not. It's based on that I will continue or not in the future. I will decide. But so far, I'm very glad to read those feedbacks and comments that these broadcast, online Facebook broadcast has been helpful, and helping everyone to get some ideas and also knowledge on current affairs, as well as the pandemic COVID-19, and how our emotions engage and cause difficulties in our life and in families, and how to deal with the children, and so and so. So thank you very much for this feedbacks. This year, quite a sad thing that we are facing difficult time in many different ways, one after another. We were suffered from this COVID-19 for over 2 months, and it is just about to getting used to, or it is just about to getting back to normality. But somehow again this new problem sparked, which was sparked in America as a so-called recist attempt that again spread even in the UK. And it's quite sad to know that this racism is still going on in the world. But again, we also need to be mindful that is this the right time to go out and in this time of a pandemic that we had been so hardly working for 2 months to keep away from this virus, but because of this racist I would say event, it's sparked. And again, I'm not sure that all those protesters or protests going on around the cities would get the virus and spread once again. It's I do understand the pain, I do understand this racist, I do have also faced this racist problems in the past, but I just got by with it. And then although I am not a black or white, I'm from Asia, but I was again I got this racist problem because of being Asian, but however I took it as just a form of an uneducated person, and with that I was able to overcome and do my best, and then further than that, making more better than those some of you, some of them have done, or some of them have those form of this understanding, so I do understand that. But I think we need to be very mindful and wise, before we jump into this conclusion and going into such a extreme. There are plenty of other ways I think we can do. Particularly in the West, we are known as the educated one or wise ones. We have education. We have a good governance and governments, and we have a so-called the good governance, politics things. But it seems like we have politicized it a little bit too extreme, and that has probably will cause a little bit more. But I do understand these things happens, and no one would like to have such a racist view. And this reminds me one of the greatest leaders of India, and he was born in an untouchable family, and later on through his education he raised up. After he rose, simply he changed the rules and fought for the freedom for all the untouchables, and with his determination and his wisdom, he was able to change the whole nation. Although it is still there, it's still happening, and all untouchables are still suffering in India. But since the Ambedkar, Dr. Ambedkar, he had given a lot of hope and a lot of changes in Indian constitution as well as Indian society. So I think one of his teachings were that he said, educate, agitate, and organize. So first thing that we have to be mindful at this crisis is that we should be educating one another of this racism and how to overcome. But having said that, we shouldn't be ignorantly not wise enough to go and protest such a difficult time. This agitation again should be jointly with the wisdom part, that what are the consequences of it, and organizing in a different ways rather than this way. In my understanding, that there are other possible ways that we can do that to find the right way, right path, and this is, again, it's not just one way of doing it, but also needs to be done from both sides, and not only the both sides, but from every aspects of the society. And if we look at the history, or if we look at the societies, it is not just this black and white issue, but there are other, like Asians and Westerns, and even like Scottish and English. They have different views, like in Europeans and England, like that. In even one country, we do have that variations and different class. So we have to fight these classes and caste systems of so-called, but these things, I think we should be using it in a wise way, and conducting in a wiser way, that will be more effective, which will not harm one or another. But I do understand that this is quite painful to know that this is still happening, and this is still there in the societies. That's why when I look at the Buddha's teachings, that reminds me that once you become a monk, you have given up all the backgrounds, but simply you become a member of the community. So you simply give up your background, give up who you were, give up where you come from. Once you have embraced the teachings and embraced the monastic rules, then you will be regarded as a member of the community. And this is the beauty that I see, and wish we can have such a beauty in the societies as well. Doesn't matter where we're from, doesn't matter which part of the world are we from, So when we can break these boundaries, and we're treating one another as an equal, treating one another as just a human being, and giving an opportunity to educate, an opportunity to grow, educate one another, to appreciate one another. So that's why it's been for a long time, probably over 10 years, that I have in my mind at all the time that we have to learn to accept as they are, who they are, and so accepting accepting as they are, without having any prejudice or any differentiation between one another. And that, again, we can, once we have accepted a person as they are, without having any opinions, without having any backgrounds putting into them, then we simply take them as one of us. That's why Buddha said that in order to realize ourselves completely, we have to understand others. And once we have understood ourselves, then we also need to understand others. And with that, we will bring the peace and harmony one another. And that is the first quality I think I have been practicing and telling, or informing our members, that we have to learn to accept the differences, accept their knowledge, accept the capability, and we shouldn't be making the standard that they should be in this way or that way, and they should be in this standard or that standard. According to the Buddhism, we are all different, but we are same in a human flesh. Different in a way that we all have a different capabilities, we all have a different knowledge, the level of different understandings. We are not we are not same in terms of the knowledge or capability or effort and skills and so, but we are all same as a human. So that's why we have to accept this at first, and when we are able to accept, and accepting is not enough, we have to respect, and this respect is, we are respecting who they are as they are, rather than disrespecting. Like this issue of racism simply began of this so-called good and a bad concept, when the so-called the color issue, or so-called the black and a white issue again all the black were bad at that time. Doesn't matter how good they were, or doesn't matter how much they do good, they were still classified as a bad. And as a result of that, nobody wants to be bad, everybody wants to be good. And with this, the racism again developed more and more, and we do not respect that. Okay, we do not respect to one another, and as a result of that, this boundaries and this difference become bigger and bigger. The gap become bigger and bigger, and that gradually generated hate and generated this animosity and resistance and so and so. And this hate again develops so much. So that's why we have to respect after we have accepted who they are. And that not just respecting is enough. We have to see the value of their presence, see the value of their presence, that how they are. And without their presence, we are not here. Like the humanists would say that without another human, there is no humans, or with another person, there is a person. There is a human beings. So that's why this is quite important to understand the value of other people as well as ours. And when we see the value of others, in that moment that we can feel that okay, they are one of the most important person. And this we can I can give you an example of the most important person in our life. Who is the most important person in our life? People would go on to different subjects, different people, like a son, daughter, father, mother, auntie, uncle, grandfather, or wife, husband, like that. Go on in the lists. But one of the very important person in our life is one who is next to us. One who is next to us, because we do not know how long they are going to stay, how long they have got time in their life. So we have to put all our effort, undivided attention, and undivided love and compassion to that person, without creating any boundaries, without having any the so-called racism. And this, although this racism is become so much issue, what we need to know that always there, and it has been always in the societies, doesn't matter when. Even at the time of the Buddha 2600 years ago, there were such practices, and which Buddha strongly stood against with it, and as a result he introduced the equality to all, and so-called the caste system in India is still prevail, is still in practice. But however, after the Dr. Ambedkar, although he was born in untouchable, had a very, very low chance of education, but however, his pursuit and his dedication, and then his one of the very good teacher, despite of being a Brahmin, he gave Ambedkar, as being a talented boy, an opportunity, and with that opportunity he was able to grow and educate himself from the Western world, and then able to transform the country. And despite of that, the caste system is still there, and not only in India and Nepal, also the caste system is there, but over the period of a time, as we educate one another, the value, and accepting, respecting, and seeing the value of one another, and gradually over the period of a time, it will just vanish, and we will just mingle, blend into the society. And in order to blend into the society, it is not just the rules that we make, it is not just a one way of responding. It is we all have to work together, we all have to understand one another, and basically we have to develop this quality of acceptance, respect to one another, and seeing their values. And only then we can create so-called boundaryless, or so-called every life is a matter. And now, in the West, in America or in the UK, because of this matter, I do believe that significant number of white people may feel vulnerable, or may feel fear, or may feel that they cannot go out or do something. And this is again another trouble may arise. It's mentally another trouble may arise. Although in the demonstrations and protests we can see that significant number of whites, or more white people on the street than black, but yet there are plenty of other white people, those who are in the front line working, or normal work, in office works. They probably feel unsafe, they probably feel unhappy as well, and they probably feel mentally feeling of scared and fear. And so this also issue need to be now we have to discuss, and how can we make them feel safe, and how can we make them feel comfortable and feel that they are also part of the community. And this is also, we need to think hard thinking on that. And particularly this time of this pandemic and COVID-19, people are frustrated, and I do understand that they need something to just let it out. And this become a one point, so everyone came and let it out. But now there are people, let's say white people working in hospitals, in NHS clinics, and so. How do they feel now? Although they may be sympathetic, and they do understand, and they do also respect and value, and also for them as well, black people also matter. But the other people, or the other group of people, will think that they are white, and there will be attempt, or harassment or bully may occur. So in that case, what we can do, how can we help? So in this way, I do understand that always there will be two sides. So as long as we have this greed, hatred and delusion, there will be always two sides. As a result, Buddha gave the teachings that he beats me, he wins me, he abused me. One who harbors such thoughts in their mind, the hatred never ceases. But those who do not harbor those thoughts, hatred will not prevail, but hatred will cease. And the same thing, the Buddha also further said that hatred never ceases by hatred, but only by love. And so now we have to think, and we have to reflect on that how we can share our love and compassion to one another, without having any boundaries, without having any so-called racist view, and without having any discrimination to one another, whether it is by color, or whether it is by the caste, or whether it is by the ethnicities, or whether it is by a nation to nation. As long as we have these sort of I am Scottish, I am English, I am French, I am American, so as long as we're holding this identity of I am, then obviously that makes a differentiation between one another. When we say I am Scottish, then there will be other nationalities would say I am this country or that country, and with that again we are building up these boundaries. So rather than having these identities, that this is me and this is mine, this nationality, this so-called race, this ethnicity, and so-called this race, or this religion, even this religion also need to take it away, and we accept all of us as a human being first. That's why, one of my books I wrote on a question and answer, I mentioned that before we practicing religion, first of all, we have to practice the humanity. That we are all humans, and after accepting and practicing we are all humans, second, we have to respect the rules and regulation of that particular culture or a country. And after we have adjusted and adapted and respecting the rules and regulation of that culture or that country, only then we can apply or we can practice our own religion that we believe in, or so-called your culture, or so-called your traditional way of practicing. So this is what we need to be mindful of. The first what we have to learn is to learn to know each other, and ability to accept, respect and see their values, and ability to blend in to one another. And this blending in, it's not just a one way, but it's a mutual action that we have to take together to walk on the path. So that's why I always see this monastic and Buddhist monastic practices that doesn't matter where you come from, you leave all your backgrounds, but you become a monk, a fresh birth into the monastics, which you leave everything, but you become a monk, a member of the community. And that's how we live harmoniously and we live peacefully. So that's sort of a community we have to build up. And my thoughts goes to everyone, those who are suffering. And I do understand that this racist problem is very big, and despite of that, I think I would like to remind you that this virus is more deadlier and more vulnerable than this one. So at first, let's get on with this virus, and later on, gradually, we can find other ways to deal with this, as even like Dr. Ambedkar did it, about 50-70 years ago. Peacefully he did, and he changed the constitution, he applied the rules and regulation in the constitution, and that's how gradually changing. So that form of a peaceful protest or peaceful way of dealing we need to implement. So this is quite a heavy topic, and I wasn't intending to speak about it, but somehow a few people ask me what do I think. So that's why rather than give my thoughts to one individual, I thought that I will speak and to you all, whoever are listening from around the world, that this is what I think and what we should be doing. So be wise and act wisely, and before jumping into the pond, think twice and act wisely. Consider not just you, but also the whole community. With this, may you be happy, peaceful, and stay safe. Take care. In a few minutes' time, we will have an evening chanting and guided meditation. So I would like to invite you to join with us for the chanting and as well as guided meditation. If you are not tuning in or continuing, then we'll see you tomorrow at 6:30 for the talk. And continue with the chanting and guided meditation. So until then, thank you and good night. So everyone, thank you very much. Thank you.